events in October coming up soon, as well as continuing in November and October that are co-hosted by Russian Literature and Culture Center, that most of you know any events here, co-hosted this time with Kamińska project, a project that also some of that is devoted to the study of banned books from the former Soviet Union to countries of Eastern Bloc. And we are very grateful for Aleksandra to bring this contemporary of today's theme from Poland, whose story, history, and materiality resonates, of course, with what Kamińska project studies historically from the Soviet era. So it's, of course, always a continuum, and nothing really ends and nothing ever will. So thank you so much for coming to Hunter from Warsaw. And let me just introduce the moderator, Monika Zaleska, who also many of you know, who is my colleague at Hunter, as well as at the Radio Center. She's working on Polish in particular, and this is really much more Monika's event than mine or ours. So Monika will introduce Aleksandra, Aleksandra will introduce the journal, and we'll take it from there and at the end of it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I'm so happy to have Aleksandra Kaminska here. Sure. Is something happening? I think they're on us, but
oh yeah, I think they're on us.
That's for the video. Okay. Hello. Hello. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
I will also project. So thank you all for being here today. I'm so happy to welcome my friend Aleksandra Kamińska, or Ola, as I call her, to Hunter today. We have known each other for like 8 years now. We met in Warsaw at a kind of zine-making event through Rookie magazine, RIP, a magazine for teenage girls that I was writing for at the time and that you were involved with also kind of in the Warsaw scene. And we put on this event together. We had like bracelet making, zine making.
We
a lot of
made the first zine there, so
right.
The
So
beginning of history.
The beginning of the zine history was at that event on the banks of the river in Warsaw on a beautiful summer day, and that's where we met and became friends. So I just want to tell you a little bit about Ola, and then she's gonna give her presentation. We're gonna talk a little bit between us. And then we really want to just talk to you all and hear what you are thinking about zine making, about publishing as a form of protest, about queer publishing. We're really here today to have like a conversation, okay? So you know a little bit already, but just to go on, Ola recently defended her PhD at the University of Warsaw, where she did cultural studies. She works on gender, media, pop culture, and literature. She was also a Fulbright grantee at Columbia University while she was working on her PhD in Warsaw. And of course, she is one of the founders of Girls and Queers to the Front, the zine we are here today to talk about, which was founded in 2015. And then recently, and very excitingly, her venture has expanded into publishing poetry and short fiction. In book form, so they're kind of becoming a publishing outfit or a publishing house as well. So not just the journal, which comes out periodically, but also chapbooks and other kinds of volumes. So that's really exciting. Ola is here in New York like every year, and she's trying to network with New York writers and artists and kind of expand the project. So if that's something you're interested in, you should come talk to us after, yeah? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Yeah, just you know, to let you know, definitely, I'm going to talk about it more in a second, but our zines come out both in Polish and in English, and we're like always looking for kind of creating an international community for those publications. And definitely, like send us something. We actually just open a call for submissions for a new publication, and yeah, I'm gonna get into that. Okay, so I'm gonna start with like a few images. So I think I have to stand here. Sorry, and talk a little bit about what I do, and then we're gonna move to the conversation with Monika. And also, thank you so much, Monika, for inviting me. Yeah, is it working? Is this thing this? Okay, this one. I'm gonna take this with me then.
Do it.
Is it better? Yeah. Okay, great. So once again, thank you, Monika, for inviting me, and I'm very fond of our friendship and of our kind of creative academic adventures.
Collaboration.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I'm gonna start with saying a little bit more about what I do, or actually what we do as Girls and Queers to the Front, to just kind of give you an idea. Then I'm gonna focus on kind of the historical context or like socio-political context that we have, and then kind of continue on queer publishing as a form of protest. If I get too fast or anything, just like kind of let me know to slow down, and I will slow down. Okay, so just to start, as Monika mentioned, I started the initiative Girls and Queers to the Front with my friend Agata in 2015. Also, there are 2 other members now who kind of collaborate with us on a regular basis, and we publish zines, organize concerts for girls and women and queer musicians. We actually started with the name Girls to the Front, and then as kind of the political situation in Poland became more and more hostile towards queer people, and as kind of more of our friends and collaborators came out as queer, we decided that we want to empower all of the voices of people who might be discriminated due to either gender or sexuality. So now we are called Girls and Queers to the Front. We publish zines, organize concerts, performances, panel discussions, workshops, curate exhibitions, play DJ sets, host a show at the local community radio, and have a queer small press. Yes, I just had to like read everything we do because we do so many different things. So definitely we're kind of trying to create a broader platform for kind of queer and women voices than just having a publishing press or just having a zine, although it is one of the kind of main things that we do. In all of our actions, we focus on building a queer feminist community that is accessible, inspiring, and supportive. And we were originally inspired by the Riot Girl and queercore movements. So just a few images of what we do. We started in 2015, and I think it was like just before the very conservative right-wing political party Law and Order, sorry, it was Law and Justice, came to power. It's called PiS in Poland, in Polish, and we like very quickly discovered that what we actually do is going to be an answer to kind of the political situation and to what is happening at the government at the time. Have anyone here made a zine ever in their life? Okay, one person. Does everybody knows what zines are?
Why don't you tell them anyway?
Okay, yeah. So zines are kind of like DIY publications, self-produced. I'm gonna show you one. Yeah, I think it's like from like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. This was the issue about future, when we kind of reimagined how the queer future and how the feminist future may look like. And this was self-published, co-created by around 40 authors, between like 40 and 50 usually. I can actually pass them around.
Yeah, let me do it for you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And like we do not have a publisher. We just kind of do it ourselves. Go to the printing shop, print them, and distribute them for the cost of printing. And this is what we started in 2015, and now we also began our small press. So since there was someone who mentioned that they already made a zine, you probably know that this is like the ultimate learning experience. So no, I kind of have to figure out, I don't know, how to print something, how to even put it into the InDesign and prepare for printing, how to work with images and text, and how to promote your work, because we do not have anyone to kind of promote what we do. So I do think about zines as an ultimate learning experience, but I also think about them as learning or like listening to the community that we have and to the community that we created. And I think it's like way more important than actually learning, you know, how to work with InDesign is exactly listening to the queer and feminist voices that we get and that we interact with while working on the zine. Let me look into my notes. So we started in 2015, and I've been born in Warsaw, and I've been living my whole life in Warsaw, and I was kind of hoping that, you know, like with each year it's gonna get more liberal or even more leftist. But then the 2015 elections proved that it's not going to be the case, and instead Poland grew more homophobic and kind of went like the situation for women was increasingly worse. So our zines were created as a kind of output for people who do not see themselves in mainstream media and who do not kind of recognize themselves in the images and voices that are usually supported by the government. We also do everything ourselves, which means that we do not have any funding. So, I mean, you know, it's a terrible situation to not have funding for publications, but at the same time, when most of the different institutions and publishers were like, especially those left-leaning or like feminist queer, were having their funding taken away from, there was like nothing to take away from us because we, you know, like we didn't have anything to begin with. So this gave us a lot of freedom in how we want to do what we do and how we can kind of get those voices that are underrepresented in the mainstream media. And how we can kind of, you know, like work it just the way we want to. We started as inspired by Riot Girl and queercore zines. There is a quote that I'm gonna get into in a second, but just wanted to show you some of the images. So the two of our main inspirations were the 1990s feminist punk Riot Girl movement and the 1980s, 1990s queercore movement. Both were very much rooted in punk and the DIY aesthetics, and then developed through the zines and through the music. You can also notice that those zines look kind of differently than what we do, and we kind of, with our work, engage with the question of how the zine evolved as a medium and how we can think like if even the books that we publish now can still function as zines. And one other important thing that I wanted to mention is that we actually also, like in context of Polish-American collaboration, we actually, my friend and I, started with being inspired by the American zines, and only then we got to discover the Polish zines that were created in the 1990s. And like the 1990s were a very turbulent time in Poland, especially like with thinking about the transition from communism. But at the same time, there were no initiatives that would be supportive to women and media, music, publishing, writing. So we did not have this legacy, and we kind of took inspiration from the American movements to then create the zines in Poland. And this is exactly how it also worked, like in our initiative specifically. And only later, like while working on this project commissioned by this queer women organization in Poland, we actually rediscovered a lot of zines that were created in Poland in the 1990s. And it's, you know, like the scale of what was published in Poland in the 1990s comparing with what was being published in the 1990s in the US. It's like, obviously, you know, like you cannot even compare them because there were, I know, like 3 or maybe 4 different different publications that were coming out more or less regularly. But at the same time, we try to now rediscover this history of the Polish zines that were creating in the 90s. And we are fully aware that part of it, of like what is happening, is not only that we do not, like, it's not even the fact that those zines do not exist, but also the fact that we have no zine archives and we have like no history of kind of commemorating, archiving, gathering those publications. There's this wonderful scholar, Kate Acorn, who writes about zine archives as an apparatus to legitimize new forms of knowledge and cultural production in economically and politically precarious present. And this is how I want to keep thinking about maybe the zine archives that are gonna come out in Poland, but like at the moment we do not have the Riot Girl collection that is at NYU or the zine library that is in Barnard. So maybe one thing important to stress here is also creating those queer and feminist archives that just are not existed in Poland right now. And that's why we kind of turn first to the American archives and only then rediscover what is and what was happening in Poland. A few images. I especially love the one with the snake from the zines from Poland that we actually managed to kind of uncover through the work of while working with our friend who is now writing her dissertation on Polish zine. So hoping there will be some kind of image, some kind of work with images of the Polish 1990s feminist zines there. The first one, Łechtaczka, which is a dyke punk zine, as you can see on the top. Translates into clitoris. And the other one is, it's called Pulse, and it's a bulletin for gay girls in Gdańsk, like a city near the Baltic Sea. So yeah, I mean, I love this one. And I'm hoping we're gonna keep rediscovering the zines and keep thinking about them as a part of literary and artistic history that we have in Poland, and that just has not been really focused on it. So as Monika already mentioned, here on this image you can see more of our kind of traditional zines, and on the other one there are already 2 books that were published by Girls and Queers to the Front in the last 2 years. The short story collection and the poem. And we knew that we wanted to publish queer work because there were just like no queer, I mean, like there were like maybe 2 queer writers, like 2 out queer writers at the time that were like very active on Polish scene. And we knew that there were just so many more people who were writing, but they just didn't feel comfortable or they just didn't feel encouraged to publish their work. So this is how we started with the publishing press, and this is who we actually want to continue supporting and growing. We had a lot, like, I hope that we're going to talk about it later, but we had a little bit of controversy even within the queer community about starting a queer press that focuses specifically on queer voices. And like those were kind of the typical questions like, oh, do we need a specifically queer press? Like people asking us, oh, but what if like a cis straight man is gonna come to us and his book is gonna, like his work is gonna be so great, will you not publish him? So even kind of within the community there were some kind of questions, but throughout those 2.5, 3 years we kind of established our position, I think, and now both the beginners and both the people who just started writing and some bigger names who already have like 2 or 3 books published come to us and say that we really did not enjoy how it looked like in the mainstream publishing, and can we kind of think about doing it in a different way, even if it means like less money, I mean, poetry never means money, so that's like kind of already off the table. So I'm really glad that, you know, like despite some controversy or some questions at the beginning, we actually proved to be a useful outlet for the queer voices and for the people who do not recognize themselves within the mainstream media and within the mainstream culture. I wanted to show a few images. I think this is it circulating somewhere there? Maybe
Which one
not.
is that? Is that the conflict?
Yeah.
I don't know if we have conflict here.
No. Okay, never mind. But I wanted also to talk about publishing kind of like more directly in the context of what was happening in Poland in 2020. I mostly, you know, like I use the date 2015 because this is where the right-wing party came to power. This hasn't changed. Maybe it will change next week because actually we have elections next week. So, you know, fingers crossed. But 2020 was also the years of the protests in Poland, same as here. And the two main issues that were happening. The first one is the situation of LGBTQ communities in Poland. I think by the like mid 2020, 1/3 of Poland was declared LGBTQ free zones, which means, I mean, it didn't mean really politically or like there were no regulations, but you know, like there were declarations that those parts of Poland are going to be free of LGBTQ people. It kind of validated any kind of violence or any kind of hostility at the time. And right now the situation changed a little bit. The European Union stopped the funding in those spheres that were LGBTQ free. So this actually, you know, help end homophobia. Low-key joking, but this made the governments in those small, like this local governments reconsider whether they want to be LGBTQ free zone. But this was like one of the biggest events or like one of the biggest conflicts that were happening in Poland in 2020. It kind of culminated with what was later dubbed by Polish media as the Polish Stonewall. And this was a protest that happened in August 2020. You know, as the homophobia was growing, we had this collective called Stop Bzdurą, which translates into Stop the Bullshit, who was focusing, it was queer anarchist collective, and they were focusing on fighting homophobia, like kind of mocking homophobia, mostly for young people, and they were spraying over, I know, like homophobic posters, and they were putting the rainbow flags on monuments. We also had for a while this this bus or a van going outside, like around different cities, that was just blasting the information and was like featuring the posters saying that like abortion is murder, and all queer people are pedophiles, etc., etc. So it's like extremely homophobic, aggressive information. And at some point, the Stop the Bullshit collective just sprayed over one of the vans that were going around the city of Warsaw, and sprayed over this information, and kind of came into direct conflict with the bus driver that was at this specific like van or bus. This was seen as an act of vandalism, and very soon the main person in the collective Stop the Bullshit was supposed to be arrested. They were like facing up to 8 years in prison, and like everyone knew that they're gonna get arrested on this specific day. They're like some kind of information got out, so we gathered around the place when they were supposed to get arrested to try to stop the police from arresting this person. Her name is Maya Gott. And this is the event that ended up being like very violent, obviously like from the police side, that ended up in like few hours protests, riots, and This is the event that was called later on the Polish Stonewall. We actually did not manage to kind of stop the police from jailing Margot for a while, but they are like still facing trials. It's been going on for 3 years. It's an ongoing process. But the one thing we could later do is we kind of put it as one of the main themes of the zine that we were working on, and the zine that we published in 2021 was like mostly focused on conflicts that we faced in Poland at the time, and one of them was this kind of awakening of how the situation in Poland for queers looked like. It's also one of the very few situations where like people were seeing the police brutality on queers like at the time it was happening. Usually it's not it's not broadcasted by the mainstream media, but it was, and it was kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people, and there were like series of demonstrations that were in support of queer community, and it's kind of hard to assess if it changed that much, but it was definitely kind of a milestone when we think about how the situation for queers looked like. The second event that was happening at the time, and that was kind of the second part of our zine conflict, was the almost total abortion ban that was introduced in Poland. So up until 2020, women could get an abortion in 3 cases. The first one was if it was a result of a crime. The second one if the woman's life was in danger. And the last one was if the fetus would malfunction in some way. And 97% of the legal abortions that were happening in Poland were due to the last case, so like some kind of malfunction in the fetus. And in the 2020, the tribunal appointed by the ruling party banned the last case. So like basically banned any kind of legal access to abortion in Poland. And this resulted in the biggest strikes that we had in Poland since 1989. So like since the end of communism, kind of think about it as a shortcut. And like we spent so many months and so much time on the streets protesting, and the protests were like really huge. And like me and my friends were just like walking around neighborhoods, putting stickers with the information about like the number for safe abortion, and putting the leaflets out. So a lot of kind of small acts of protest at the time were happening through kind of like mixture of art and activism, or like some kind of like artistic self-expression and activism. And those 3 works that I featured here actually come from the zine conflict that was about the anti-abortion protests and about this Polish Stonewall. I think like a lot of people are still processing what happened in 2020 like even aside from the pandemic in Poland, and we try to create space for kind of processing those emotions and processing what we collectively have lived through. Maybe one more thing to mention here is that when we publish our zines, we actually don't go into like a direct dialogue with right-wing conservatives, homophobes, whatever. There are many wonderful organizations that do it in Poland, and I'm so grateful for their work. But like instead of going outward, we kind of focus on going inward and strengthening our community and kind of giving space for self-expression, for like having some kind of sense, even like connecting with one another. So then they feel stronger once they actually have to go out into the real world. And we always face the real world. Like there's no escaping that. So what we do through our zines is like focusing inward, and through publishing, having the space, knowing that like those creative self-expressions mean so much to many people there, and only after this we kind of like go and face the real world. Okay, and the last thing, or almost last thing that I want to mention is, oh wait, I don't have this one on slide, is the queer erotica zine that is circulating. This one is circulating for sure, but we also created or started as a new series of zines published in 2020, and it was also in answer to the Polish Stonewall and the homophobic situation that was happening at the time, because we really wanted to, like create a space for pleasure, like feeling good during the times when we were constantly under attack and constantly discriminated and just facing a very, very harsh reality. So last things, I wanted to like show you I know it's a very long quote, just like bear with me. But my friend who I already mentioned, Basia Dynda, is working now on the legacy of Polish zines, and gonna read it out loud, then say a few things about it. By carrying on the strategy developed by anarcho-feminist zines from the 1990s, contemporary publications work to expand the tradition of international intersectional collaboration with local and foreign feminist organizations as a method of counteracting the social and economic impact of the abortion ban in Poland. Using similar techniques of building resistance to counter the erasure of emancipatory discourse on abortion, zines provide an artistic activist tool in the fight against visual transformations in culture with regard to reproduction and more broadly emancipation. Like their 1990s counterparts, contemporary feminist zines stress that the fight for reproductive rights is not limited to the emancipation of women, but requires broader social justice activism. She just summed it up really well. That's why I, try to include this quote in the presentations. And like even when we're like not fully aware of this Polish legacy of 1990 zines, there was so kind of in dialogue with the American publication that we knew that like we kind of ended up being in this dialogue anyway. And I think it's really cool thing, and I'm glad we kind of managed to create those international and intersectional collaborations, especially as we now publishing almost all of our publications in both Polish and English. Also, when I think about the protests and when I think about the events that were happening in Poland, there were a lot of people that would not go out on the streets in 2020, and like even due to disability. I mean, like also we're like still in the middle of the pandemic, and when you cannot kind of protest very openly in the way that we usually think about the protest, like going into the streets, like creating a work for the zine, or like creating, for example, a sticker with information about safe abortions and then sending it to a lot of people, or like sending us and then us distributing it, was a form of protest, and we always think about it. Also, like zines have a very long history of kind of working against the mainstream narrative of sexuality and gender, of even very often national narratives. And through creating the zine, we also try to go through this legacy and oppose the mainstream narratives. Those are the two images from the books that are circulating that come from our small press that we're going to talk about in a second. And I know I'm already talking for too long, so just like one more thing, to sum up. As I said, zines and small presses have a long history of questioning prevailing narratives, and this is what we are trying to do. And this legacy, kind of sum up of the 1980s queercore and the 1990s riot girl zines, are still visibly present in Poland, both in the 1990s and now. And zines, as I said, and small presses can be seen as a form of activism for those who won't be, or like are not able, or just kind of need to step back from the kind of more open, more violent or active protests, and they can still work as a form of community building, of resistance to what is happening, and at the same time rejecting the capitalist means of production and kind of giving all the power in the hands of the artists and the creators and the writers. And yeah, I think that's kind of like a good thing to end on. One small thing, we just opened the call for our new queer erotica zine. It was literally today I told my friends we need to do it today so I can advertise it to you. So, if you want to send us something, our Instagram is there. There are a lot of information about the format and everything. And I'm hoping we're going to get some cool submissions from you. Okay, thank you.
And then not only do you get published, you automatically also get translated into Polish.
True. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're writing in English, so it's really exciting.
Yeah. It's a cool thing to have in your resume. Send us
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I love hearing you talk about the project. Well, I have a few questions, but I really do want to open it up to you all. And I hope you have some things to ask Ola as well. I feel like you really covered the political situation well, even though I know we do have elections coming up, so that could change. Obviously, some things must have changed also since 2020, and you can maybe expand on that. But what I really wanted to focus on is the idea of collaborative working together, dialogue, community. That's such a big part of what you do. I mean, you're talking about a zine that you're putting together 40 different contributors. You're translating 40 different pieces. You're getting people to write. But then
the last one was even 60 people. So
yeah, but then also you have to find people to translate those works. I know I've done some of that.
Yes, thank you.
Translation work, and it's really like this huge group project. I think that's so valuable and interesting.
It is a really huge project. I know. The first zine that we published was by, I think, 12 people, and it was 30 pages. And now it's 170 pages and 60 co-creators. And we still do not publish everything that we're sent off. We're publishing, I think, around 40% of what people are sending us. And I hate the selection process. That's the one thing I really hate about doing the zine. Selecting works and writing the rejection letters. But everything else is super fun. It really grew into a huge project, and I love this. And it's difficult because it takes so much of our time, and as I said, we do not have any funding, so we just do it on the evenings, on the weekends, and it takes a month or at least to put this in together. We also have me and my best friend, we have no formal training in the arts or anything related to this, so we kind of figuring it out one step at a time. We made a lot of very bad mistakes in our previous zines.
DIY.
Yes.
You're supposed to make mistakes.
Yeah, I even joke that we kind of create a space for failure, and especially that women and queer people are very often so much harsher judged for their actions that yes, you can kind of fail with us. Join our failure band in this. It really grew into a huge project, and I'm so glad for the connections that we make. And in the last zine, there were people from the United States, from Greece, from Germany, from UK, and from literally so many different places all around the world. And then a lot of people who work with us then, for example, take a few zines with them and give them to their local small bookstores. So we had our zines, here we sell at Queen Bee bookstore and Blue Stockings and someplace else that I forgot about in New York. But we had them really all around the world. And usually, I had not had one bad situation during those 8 years with working with people. Everyone just excited to be a part of this. And I think doing this from passion and knowing that there is no monetary profit from this kind of is a part of it. We just do it because we want to do it, and we want to create this space on paper together.
And not just on paper, right? Because you also host events and parties, you DJ together with Agata. So you do this other work of creating spaces, right?
Yeah, we really should get funding, But we just curated an exhibition last month, and with each zine we do a whole big launch party where we DJ, we invite local bands to play, we have a performance or have a discussion, some kind of panel talk. So we both kind of animate the cultural life, especially like the independent cultural life in Warsaw, and this kind of like more of our local actions. And then through the zines and through the publications, we create this international collaboration. So we both work kind of locally and internationally, just through a different means.
I have another question for you, and then we'll see where we go next. But I wanted to ask you about so you basically have like two interconnected lives. One is your life in academia, and then one is your life as like a independent publisher of a queer feminist zine. So how do they interact with each other? Are there certain limits that you face in one sphere or another? Like, are you able to kind of, because you talked about your friend who kind of works on queer zines for her dissertation. So yeah, tell me about that.
I'm gonna start with an anecdote, very short one. So there are in one of the queer erotica zines, there's like a kind of half naked picture of me, and then I saw my student buying the zine online. So I actually cut out this page before I sent it to her. And I'm so hoping that she like didn't see another copy with actually this page, and then realizing that, you know, like I especially like took the time to cut out one page there. So this is like a very kind of shortcut of how those two lives interact. But I mean, I love doing both things, but they work very differently, and I think that maybe even making zines, to like be completely honest, gives me I think I'm slightly more bitter about academia because I make zines, because you know, it's just like a space that we created for each other, that there are like no hierarchies, that when I feel a lot of agency, and it's not always a place, you know, a situation in academia.
Right.
Especially that I did gender studies, and I defended my PhD half a year ago and was applying for different jobs, and like I was, no, people were not excited about me doing gender, and this is like one of the things that I maybe slightly bitter about it. But then I also love academia, and I love being the part of the academic discussion. I love teaching, so yeah, just have to juggle those two and survive it. Yeah, but you know, like now it's also the time, because I've been doing the zines and the events for over 8 years, so now I see my students sometimes coming to my events, and
that's cool.
Yes, it's usually like super cool, and I'm excited, and yeah.
Okay. What do you want to do before we open it up for discussion?
Do you want to do the reading?
Yeah, why don't we do it?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay.
So you tell them what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna open it up to you all.
So Monika is now working on translating this collection of poems by our mutual friend Kamińska, and we're gonna read one poem from it.
Yeah.
First in Polish, then in English, and then we're gonna open up for discussion.
And the book in English tentatively is called "Pretending to Be People." So it's a lot about like inanimate objects that kind of are imbued with kind of magical powers, and also different kinds of characters acting different roles. Is that a good description?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, and I think it's also like a kind of archive of, you know, like being 20-something in Warsaw.
Yes.
There's a lot about parties there.
And it's very playful. I mean, you'll see. So she's going to read first in Polish.
Okay, yes. Wszystko. Wiem wszystko o wszystkich imprezach, najbardziej ze wszystkich tam tańczę. Łapię ryby w moje seksowne rajstopy do łapania ryby. Ale ich nie zabijam, tylko puszczam wolno, brzydkim i niespodziewanym ruchem. Można zamknąć oczy, ale lepiej patrzeć. Jak się wytrząsa wszystko ze wszystkich, z każdego to wypływa trochę inaczej, ale z każdego wypływa to samo. Gęsto i biało, gęsto i biało, gęsto i biało. Potem bredzimy w takim fosforze, smokamy butami o lepką podłogę, aż ocknięci żegnamy się ze sobą. Ty jesteś rybą, a ja jestem wodą. Ty jesteś butem, a ja podłogą.
Okay, so in English it's called Everything. I know everything about every party. I dance more than everyone there. I catch fish in my sexy fish-catching tights. But I don't kill them, just set them free. in an ugly and unexpected thrust. You can close your eyes, but it's better to look. How everything shakes out of everyone, but out of everyone the same things slide. Thick and white, thick and white, thick and white. Then we flounder through a kind of fluorescence, smack the sticky floor with our shoes, snap out of it to say goodbye and go. You are the fish and I am the shore. You are the shoe and I am the floor.
That's a really cool name.
Yeah, it's so fun. So we're working on that together. Yeah. Okay, so we gave you a taste of everything. We talked about zines, we talked about this kind of new publishing venture, and of course, the kind of surrounding social and political situation. So yeah. I think now it's up to you, whatever you want to talk about, any questions you have, please let us know. Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I really love the quotes about, a radical publication not funded or driven by mainstream media. And I wonder, when you talk about like funding, who or what would you envision funding you, where you still, maintain the non-mainstream vision?
I know, that's a very good question, because I think that, I feel like whatever we're gonna do, if we're gonna rely on some outside funding, we're gonna have to limit our vision tiny bit. So it does not feel okay. And I think it's also one of the things that kind of keeps us in our precarious position, is that we really don't wanna kind of limit our vision, or we really wanna keep the voice that we have. So I don't know. We are actually in the process of transforming into a foundation, and once we are a foundation, maybe there'll be some kind of European Union grants for cultural activism or something like this. And this is something that I think could work and would not be, just I don't know, an awful firm paying us for an issue of our zine, but then requesting to have an ad on inside the zine or something like this. Yeah. We're really struggling with this, and yeah, it would be great to be paid for this work, and it is a lot of work. I mean, at least 20 hours most of the weeks, because we also answer emails. There's a lot of things to do all the time, even if they are not very not visible at the time, but we really value our independence, so it would have to be would have to be a good fit.
Yeah, there's a lot of administrative work, even beyond the creative fun side or the putting it together side, right? You have to be the people who answer the emails and kind of keep the thing running, right?
And now you also have to post about everything on social media. So I spent an hour today crafting a post to our Instagram, and then answered 10 emails, and only then proceed with our day. So we and it still keeps growing. So we we'll have to figure it out eventually, because it keeps growing, and it is a part-time job, a half of your life job. So
absolutely,
we're gonna have to figure this out. So
so much of it for us that we do for us, but it's hard to put a price. I mean, we want to be paid, but I don't know.
And then I'm not taking an extra translating job because I'm working on the zine. So, well, life in late capitalism, I guess.
Yasha, I saw you had a question.
Yes, if I can ask you to speak a little bit more contemporary political context, maybe with the recent historical / political context, if this is in any way inspired by even Soviet era self-published and if there have been any feminist summits up in Poland?
Like pre-1990.
Just become recently scholars and activists studying capitalism.
That's a very good question. I think I don't have a clear answer because we are still figuring it out in a way. You know, like as I said, we have like this very weird road to learning even about the 1990s history of Polish zines because, you know, like we first had to discover the American ones to actually go back and rediscover the Polish ones, which sounds very weird when you think about it. But we also have a different culture around self-published things and zines in Poland, which doesn't really allow us to maybe fully rediscover the history. I think it's going to happen in a few years, and it's going to be really cool. But we just don't have this knowledge yet. But we can obviously. I mean, the problem with the zine as a medium is that a lot of people think about or like trace it back maybe to like 70s and the metal punk zines or like maybe independent presses, like science fiction independent presses from the 1930s. But we can think about them, you know, like kind of seeing a lineage between political pamphlets and actually the zines right now. And I like to think about them this way. There was a few years ago, there was this exhibition in Białystok, like the east of Poland, that was called At the Beginning Was the Deed. And it was about the very rich anarchist history of that region that I had no idea about. I was like so excited to learn it. And Girls to the Front, the Girls and Queers to the Front was invited to host a zine workshop there. And we obviously did. And like people made zines, we made zines, they were like put as a part of the exhibition. And only there, you know, like I was able to kind of connect it with those maybe more openly political pamphlets and self-publications that were also present at this exhibition. So it's still kind of an undiscovered land in a way to study. Yeah, but that's a very good question.
I was thinking about political pamphlets because it's like maybe not the first thing you think of when you think zines, because maybe they have more of a creative connotation, but zines are also a way of transmitting like important political information, right? So
yeah.
I think that history is very linked.
Yeah, but yeah, also like especially when you kind of even juxtapose those 1990 zines that I have some idea about and the zines today, you can kind of see that the medium stays the same, but maybe the way it functions within the community is slightly different. Like the 1990 zines were mostly, or like, well, in a huge part, a source of information, like where is this concert, where is this protest happening, you know, like how to do this was a kind of a mean to an end that was a in-person meeting very often. And right now, we learn about the protest from Facebook event, and then we know, like, then we think about zine mostly as a form of self-expression.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, within the very hostile political context in Poland, I was just wondering what extent of what what you publish in the zine would actually, if you had attempted to publish traditionally, would be censored or not publishable?
We have like a soft censor right now. There's like I think like how to put it. I mean, you know, like we wouldn't be able to have those with like any governmental sponsored grant. They just, you know, like they wouldn't be. It wouldn't be possible. I think like there was like this case of Center for Women, this like an organization helping women losing their funding from the government that was supported for many years because they discriminated men or something like this, you know, just like absurd situations. And I think only like actually now, I don't know if you heard about it, there's like a new movie by Agnieszka Holland, the Green Border, and it mostly deals with the terrible situation and the aggression of Poland on the Polish-Belarusian border and the pushbacks that are happening and literally killing people there. And this is like the first time we're actually, I think, like after 1989, experiencing kind of like a censorship, and like there's sometimes information before the movie or it just came out, and like all of the government, you know, like said that they're lying in this movie, and this feels like very, like, especially when I talk to kind of older generation, this feels like very much like censorship. And you know, like with us, I think it's, I mean, first of all, like gladly think, I don't know, I hope it's not going to change, that the Polish government does not know about our existence. We just kind of operate within, like, you know, like too much on the outside to catch anyone's attention. But yeah, I mean, I know that like we would not be sponsored by any, like nobody from the mainstream kind of outlets of Polish national grants would pay for our work. Yeah, we actually really value the material part of the zine. So
Yeah.
you know, like they circulate. I mean, apart from sometimes people ask us for a PDF, and then we obviously send the PDF. Especially that, you know, like once the zine is sold out, it's sold out. But we actually really value the material form of the zine and the printed matter. That just functions very, very differently with, you know, how you will interact with a link on the website sent by somebody else. And we wanted to kind of feel intimate, but we also, a lot of people write and send us very vulnerable stuff. So no, like we don't want them to, you know, like receive a hateful comment online. Like, you can still kind of send a hateful comment, I guess, if you're really committed to it. But generally, by having this kind of printed out and working outside of the mainstream, it allows us to maybe create this kind of safer space again, like this working inwards before you have to face the world outside. Yes, our website is very not up to date. Just like don't go there. Like we can barely keep up with Instagram. Yeah. I feel like it is.
Maybe more intimate.
Yeah, maybe more intimate, and I feel like it really is in some way. And you know, like you have to, I mean, you have to find us on kind of like Polish version of Etsy, or on Etsy actually, or like come to our events to like get the book. So it's mostly through the word of mouth. We had our zines and books for a while in different Polish bookstores, but you know, like we also just like put a few there, like reach some people. But I think we come with some kind of rejection of the mainstream, like in the way we operate.
I also think that like zine culture is so much about that like word of mouth circulation or putting it in somebody's hand, showing them something they've not seen before, that I think the print aspect for that is really valuable, that having this like kind of secret or intimate object that you share with people who have similar interests to you is really different than online. I mean,
definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is.
Do you have stuff online though, or is your website really just informational? I think
it's informational, and we haven't updated it in 2 years. So
well, don't worry about that. But I'm just like, it's not really an archive. Like your archive is really on paper, right?
Yeah. Our archive is on paper, and we want to keep it that way. And we really value this, you know, this way you interact with something that is printed.
Yeah. Any other questions?
This happens online. Fair enough. This happens online.
Not snail mail.
Like
international mail.
Oh my god, I would actually love that.
It would be cool.
Don't put this idea in my mind. But yeah, you can send us stuff online, like through email. If you go like to our Instagram, you're gonna get all of the information, and then we put it together, print it, and then we send a snail mail copy to like almost everyone who contributed to the zine.
Or you wait till you visit New York and then
Exactly.
put it right in their hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let me ask you maybe one more question. Let me see from my notes. So maybe one last question about this kind of collaborative element. Like, when you were making the zine verse now, like, how do you go about, because I know you've made some really interesting connections with American writers too, and they've contributed to the zine. So are you actively seeking collaborators? Do they find you? Like, just tell me a little bit more about like the process of building the community.
I think they like a lot of people just find us online and
Yeah.
on especially on Instagram, just like the like #1 of kind of connecting with people. This summer we went to Cologne in Germany, and like only after we were there, we're like, oh, actually, how did you find us? And it was it was just like on Instagram. So a lot of connections happen this way, but I last year I put the information in my Tinder bio while I was here that we are looking
Nice.
for for
That's
submissions
great.
to
I
the
love
zine.
that.
And there's this queer app Lex where I also like posted information. Hey, I'm making a zine. Please send us something. So like a lot of this is a word of mouth, also Instagram and other apps, and we also reach out specifically to the people that like we know that they might be interested, or that we know that they're writing, that they maybe want to do something with us. That's why we always write to you if you like maybe you would have something for us. And yeah, so I think it's like a mixture of those, and it also generates like like a very like it results in collaboration from very different people. So like both those who are just starting and it's like their first short story published, and those who actually have like 5 books and still like want to contribute to something that is created like on a different rules than the mainstream.
What about when it comes to your kind of new series of publishing? Like the poem we read, I didn't say it, is our friend Maya Demska's book of poetry, or I know you have some short stories. So how do you find people who want to contribute like a book length work?
They usually now send us their work.
Okay.
But we also I think maybe I don't know. I don't even remember how it happened with Maya. But the whole press started because at the same week, 2 different people wrote to us like, hey, so I know that you only publish zines and like a smaller works from different people, but I have this book ready and maybe you'd like to take a look at it. The books were not ready. This is like the first thing, but they would be like they were ready like within half a year. And this was like this amazing opportunity, just like kind of like fell into our lap. So we obviously took it and we just started a small press with this. But now like just I think like a month ago I talked with my friend who has a few books published already, and she's like very recognizable writer in Poland, and she was like, hey, so I usually write prose, but I started writing poetry, and like instead of going to like one of the biggest publishers in Poland, and she could do this very easily, she was like, hey, maybe you would be interested in like publishing it.
Yeah.
And we actually like I'm very excited about this, but we also have very limited time, and kind of we don't have capacity to publish like more than 3, maybe 4 things a year.
Yeah.
So we also have to think if we want to know if we want this very big and very cool name, or if we want to support only people who would not have a way of like getting their stuff published any other way.
Right.
So it's a lot of very difficult dilemmas that we're fighting about in our collective and trying to figure it out and like what to do with this.
But it's also cool that because you're so independent, you're working for yourselves and creating this for yourselves, you have the possibility to kind of meet an opportunity like that if you want to. I mean, given whatever manpower, woman power you have behind it, but you can kind of like have those new opportunities, or you can change the nature of the project when opportunities happen.
Yes, that's like one of the coolest things. Like we started as a DJ collective, and then it kind of grew into like, yes, we did the zine at Rookie magazine, and it turns out that we loved it, so we wanted to do more zines. And like then we started to do the workshops. Then we thought like, oh, what would be really cool to have an exhibition? So we're just gonna make an exhibition. And like kind of circling back to your question about academia versus zine making, or like having this queer feminist initiative, it gives you so much agency and power, and like just
Yeah.
kind of can commit whatever you want to and whatever feels good, and kind of steer in a different direction if that feels needed.
I met you as fully a DJ. You're just reminding me of that. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I was
And now you're very
8 years ago.
multifaceted.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Does anyone have any
Thank
last
you.
questions? I'm just opening it up one more time so we don't miss anything. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, going back to one of the things that you said during the presentation about the memory of 2020. I know this isn't exactly the things of your work, but how mobilized would you say people within your community are towards the upcoming election? Would you say that practically everyone is absolutely sure that they will go and vote?
I mean, at first I wanted to say yes, because I know that like all of my kind of friends, most of my collaborators are gonna vote, but like we have quite a few, for example, anarchists within the community or within the group of collaborators, and for example, some of them choose not to vote during the elections, but like still a lot of people that I can convince to vote, but I think some of them are just, I think like 2 days ago, like one of the girls that regularly publishes in our zines, like an Instagram post when she said that she wasn't voting in her 20s because of kind of anarchist values, but now she sees that it's such a privilege to have this vote and to change it, like the reality even a little bit for a better for other people. So she's gonna go to vote, and I think like this is kind of the only dilemma around it. Oh, and also like the fact that a lot of people are gonna vote for like the only thing we can get excited about is like a very centrist government, which is not super exciting, but probably better than the right-wing homophobic queerphobic thing we have now. Yes.
I saw one more question. Did you have one?
Yeah.
I was wondering, you talked a lot about having this sort of international connection, like collecting writers and if you've had any from like the kind of former Soviet states as well in terms of the community there, just coming from like if we see the like DIY movement seen there, and if you've had any connections that are going that way as well.
We're definitely in contact with one person from Romania that like wants to like kind of create maybe a project with us, and if we only have like the capacity to do so, we will do so, because I know that she's also working on like kind of like a queer erotica zine or something like this. We like way before the war we had some collaborators from Russia who also like wanted to show their work. Right now we also have like works from people who came from Ukraine to Poland, and so like I would say that 70%, maybe 60-70% of the works that we have are actually Polish, but at the same time, like we get at least a few voices always from different parts of the world. And maybe one more thing that I wanted to kind of say about it is what I actually very much value about the zines is that they create a different vision of Poland that you would not find in mainstream media. I was just talking to Monika before that, like I think about countries that seem even more homophobic or like even more oppressive than Poland, and I think like okay, like they probably have like a group like us too in there, and like we need to get this image out there, and we need to like connect with them. So also I think one of my goals, and also why a lot of those zines are in English, is to show that like in this very right-wing, conservative, homophobic country, there are also a lot of very cool queers who want to share their work. So
different
this is what I'm trying to do.
Right,
Exactly,
to share with people.
It's incredible. Thank you so much for
Oh,
thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ola.
Thank
It's so nice
you.
to have you here again. We did an event last year together as well. So hopefully we'll have you one more time.
Oh, probably.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna come here.
Yes, good. I love it. Okay, well, thank you again so much for
Thank you.
sharing with us. And please do return the zines because we don't have any more copies of
Yeah,
those. Those are our
they're
one
like
copy.
really sold out.